Hello, Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
There we go. Here I am. Okay.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Hi, Clinton. How are you?
Doing good, thanks. How about you?
Very good.
Happy.
Could I ask if someone can see if this is being live streamed now?
No, I don't think so. Hold on. I'll look.
Thank you.
Well, I do sense that the content of this meeting is being sent to a third party, and I've clicked OK, so I'm thinking maybe.
Oh, yes, it is.
The third party? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, Steve, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to all.
Hey, Steve.
Hey.
So welcome to our guest. We will be starting the workshop once Karen gets us set up. And it will be about maybe a half-hour presentation followed by any questions you may have.
Thanks. How about you?
Well, I do sense that the content of this meeting is being sent and gets us set up. And it will be about maybe a half-hour presentation. Any questions you may have.
Thanks. How about you?
Well, I do sense that the content of this meeting is being sent and gets us set up. And it will be about maybe a half-hour presentation.
Okay. Can everyone see the large screen?
Questions you may have.
Thanks. How about you?
Okay, we're getting feedback here.
No, that was my phone, Karen.
Oh, okay, great. I'm glad it was your phone. All right.
I'll
so,
monitor Facebook for any comments if some come up.
Thank you, Gloria. So is the main screen, the workshop screen on right now? Is that what everyone is seeing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so Bob, you let me know when you want to start.
Oh, I think it's 6 o'clock, so we can start.
It's right on the dot, 6 o'clock. Okay, welcome everyone to the well, what's been an annual public workshop for the CPA grants. It's a presentation of maybe about 20 minutes that goes over what the Community Preservation Act is, and then some application tips on how to apply for CPA grants. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me by telephone 413-530-1268 or email klee@springfieldcityhall.com. My name is Karen Lee, and I'm the administrator of the committee. So I think Bob you were going to take the first several slides, right?
I'm taking slides 3 through 11.
Okay, so, well, all right, let me just continue with this then. Our meetings are held at 6 p.m. on the first Tuesday of every month, and the minutes and agendas for past meetings are available on the meeting portal of the city website. We'll continue to meet remotely until further notice. You can listen or view to this recording at this Facebook page or send us a public comment to the address that you see there, CPC at City Hall, 36 Court Street, Springfield 01103. Email cpc@springfieldcityhall.com or telephone 413-530-1268. Tonight is an informational workshop, and once the presentation is over, the public will be invited to speak with a question and answer period. If you need a copy of this presentation, please send an email to cpc@springfieldcityhall.com. The 2025 grant application may be completed online and is located on the Springfield Community Preservation Committee page of the City of Springfield. So, CPA legislation.
So
Massachusetts.
this is where I'm
Oh, okay.
taking over.
All right, go ahead.
So thank you, Karen, and welcome everyone. So the CPA law was passed here in Massachusetts in 2000 to help municipalities preserve the character of their communities through a dedicated fund for open space and outdoor recreation, historic resources, and community housing. Springfield voters adopted CPA in November 2016 election, and we're happy to say that it passed in 63 of 64 precincts. The first year of recommendations for funding occurred in the autumn of 2018, and since then, more than $6 million has been recommended and passed by City Council for 100 or so projects. And
That
many of
was
these
16
projects,
million, Bob. 16
16
million.
million. Oh, 60, yeah, sorry. Next slide, Karen. So the state law requires all communities who have CPA to have at least 5 members, and they must come from specific named organizations: the Historical Commission, the Planning Board, the Conservation Commission, the Park Board, and the Housing Authority. And obviously the intent of that is, since CPA aids things in their area, they wanted them represented. Communities can have also up to 4 additional members. Springfield has chosen to do that. There are 3 neighborhood representatives chosen by the president of the city council, and 1 representative that is nominated by the Springfield Preservation Trust, and that happens to be me. And there you see the other members of the committee. Next slide. So CPA, is financed by a surcharge on the property taxes. And then every year the state gives a distribution in proportion to how much each community raised the previous year. The current 2025 budget for CPA is approximately 2.5 million. The state law requires that every year we budget at least 10% for the 3 main categories: housing, open space and recreation, and historic resources. And every year we have to spend 10% in those 3 areas, or we have to keep that in our reserve for future projects. The remainder of the money goes to a small percent for administration, and the other 65% can go to either housing, open space and recreation, or historic resources. So CPA grants, the law doesn't talk about necessarily who can apply. Clearly, government departments have applied, nonprofit organizations, other organizations, individuals have submitted applications on behalf of projects. Neighborhood groups have submitted applications for projects. And this is sort of below that is, we can't do everything. You can see here exactly how CPA can be spent. But we'll go to the next chart, which is the most important one. And I would urge everyone to look at it. It's on our website because it's hard to read here. But this is a chart that was created by the Department of Revenue using the language that's in the CPA law to put it in a more understandable format than having to read through the law itself. So it defines open space. It defines what a historic resource is, what recreational land is, and what community housing is. So community housing is for households that make under 100% of the area median income based on their household size. And historic resources, and we'll talk about that coming up, has a specific definition. So not every old building necessarily is a historic resource. Not every patch of grass in the city qualifies under the state law as an open space. And you can then see the activities that can take place: acquisition, creation, preservation, support, rehabilitation, and restoration. So acquisition you can do across the board. Creation you can do across the board. Yeah, well, Tracy, I guess we can take questions now if people want to do it rather than wait to the end. So if you've got a question, let's deal with it now.
Sure.
Can I ask one
uh,
question? I'm sorry, Counselor, one question. Is Yolanda on? I can't really see because the screen is up.
Yeah, I saw Yolanda.
She
Yep,
is?
she's on. Yep.
Okay, then I guess she got the
Yolanda.
right link. All right, thanks.
Hey,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay,
Counselor.
sorry. Just a quick question about the community housing. Is there a way that you all can put the HUD guidelines right on the website? Because when I go to search for them, it's very hard to find the guidelines for low and moderate income. If that could be linked to the website at all?
I'm not a technical person, Tracy. But clearly, I think there may be a way that we can link to the page, the Community Preservation Coalition, the group that is sort of the statewide helper with CPA, updates it every year because HUD comes out with new statistics once a year. And they have it on their website. So maybe Karen can figure out a way that we can link to them, just like we link to their version of the Department of Revenue allowable spending chart.
Okay,
Karen?
so yes,
Yeah.
on the website is a link to the coalition.
Okay.
So you can access that through our page. Also, in the community preservation plan, there is that chart that you're talking about with also a link to the coalition, because that does, like Bob said, it does change every year. So
Okay.
that, yeah, those
Can
two
you just
places.
put the link to the website in the chat, Karen?
To the community preservation website or the coalition?
Yeah, the community preservation. I want to go all the way through and find it that way. In
Okay,
the cities. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
you're
it, Bob. Thank you.
All right. So you can see under creation, you can create everything other than you cannot create a historic resource. You can preserve anything. You can support only housing. Now, support in the definition, as you see, is like talks about rental or studies or stuff like that. And then when it comes to rehabilitation, you can rehabilitate or restore a historic resource or recreational land. You cannot do it to open space or community housing unless those were purchased or created by CPA. So there are limitations on that, and that comes directly from the law. Next.
okay, 1 second.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
So,
Oh, excuse me.
so these are some examples of open space and recreation. Just recently, we provided money to help the Conservation Commission acquire more land for Abbey Brook up off of Liberty Street. We've worked with conservation to do trailhead signage in various areas. We've worked with Regreen Springfield to eliminate knotweed, an invasive plant, from city parks and conservation areas. We have worked with the McKnight Neighborhood Council and the Park Department in helping to fund creation of a new children's park on Westminster Street. And we've done a variety of parks across the city. You can see the list of them down below. Parks are one of the biggest things that we do. And statewide, it's one of the biggest uses of CPA money all over the various communities in Massachusetts.
One interruption here, Counselor. I did put the link in right on the video, and it's the absolute last link on the page that you're looking for, the coalition.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Next slide, Bob.
Yes, please. So under community housing, we've helped one with a down payment assistance program run by the city's Office of Housing for income eligible households. We've given money for projects that have rehabilitated the former Brookings School into affordable apartments. The Kavanaugh building that you see here that's being renovated into affordable apartments. A house on Eatondale Street, which concerns Citizens for Springfield, will be rehabilitating 3 apartment buildings on Byers Street that Wayfinders is fixing, and the brand new Gemini Town Hall homes down on Central Street.
I am gonna have to just jump in real quick, Bob, and I'm not gonna keep doing this, but
Yep.
I've seen a lot of organizations that normally get funding from different sources and have the resources. What I would like to see as a counselor is more individual development, because they need help getting their feet wet more than some of the organizations that I see on here. I see a lot of city projects. I see a lot of the big wigs that's already getting a bunch of funding to get things done. But I really want the committee to look at individual, smaller companies that's also trying to help build affordable housing for the community, and not just always look at the same players that we traditionally see.
Yes, so let me just respond though to say that we look at what is submitted. And I have to say, by and large, what has been submitted to us has come from, let's call it the big players. So if you have smaller developers in mind, you should be encouraging them to submit a good application. The other
Absolutely.
issue that we have had in the past, though, we have had some smaller players, and they come in with, I'm going to call it half-baked applications, and the committee itself does not want to be recommending the city council a project
Yeah.
that isn't fully fleshed out. So we're happy to deal with smaller people, but they need to have their plan together as to what they're doing.
Yeah, that's
And do you
why I
have
encourage a lot of people to go towards Karen when Karen has her trainings once, to get in there, learn the applications, because I know it's a lot of wording, but if we can get a lot more residents and a lot more just having the housing and all of that, the money's there. We just need
Yeah.
people to get involved and learn it.
learn it? And yeah, and Karen is a great resource. So we're definitely gonna take advantage of what you're saying, Yolanda. Thank you for that.
All right, so on historic projects, we've done a whole bunch of them as well across the city. We've helped with exterior work to the community music school on State Street, the drama studio on Oakland Street. We're working with the Indian Orchard Neighborhood Council on fixing up the long vacant Indian Orchard Fire Station. We're fixing historic lampposts over in Colony Hills. We've worked with the School Street School, which is now the home of the YSET program. So there are a variety of historic buildings, and we run a small historic homes program in the local historic districts. So now, just so folks know that if you're thinking of being a historic, coming into us as a historic project, you have to either be on the State Register of Historic Places, or you have to go to the local historical commission to be determined of importance to the city. And this is sort of gives you a timeline. One is the thing that we can help with buildings, structures, vessels, real property, documents or artifacts. So if what you're thinking of isn't one of those mentioned in the state law, then it's not eligible. So for example, if someone were wanting to do an oral history project of Vietnam vets, great idea. It's not a building, structure, vessel, real property, document, or artifact. So it's not eligible for CPA funding. Assuming you have one of those things, It's either on the state register or the Springfield Historical Commission. You have to go to them and they determine whether it's important. As I said, not every old building is historic. And then lastly, it has to fall into the category of acquisition, preservation, rehabilitation, or restoration. And then once funded, it has to follow what's called the Secretary of the Interior standards. Next slide. So this is now you, Karen.
Okay, then I will continue. So application and instructions. Before proceeding with an application, applicants are strongly advised to read the Springfield Community Preservation Annual Plan and review the Department of Revenue Community Preservation DOR chart, which Bob went over earlier. That was the one that was kind of small and hard to read, but that is on our website. Unlike a municipal budget with a top-down structure, CPA funds are considered bottom-up projects that are initiated by individuals, city departments, and various organizations. CPA funds are not part of the municipal budget. Projects should have a defined start and finish date, not ongoing, and generally are considered capital projects. CPA funds cannot be used for normal maintenance. It is the policy of the Springfield Community Preservation Committee to limit the maximum grant awards to $300,000 for any single project in a single year. And this is where we
300,000 now, Karen?
it was 250,000, but last year the committee voted to raise it to 300,000 per project.
Let's go, committee.
Go
Okay.
committee. All right, so here we get into the application, and I will jump to the actual application in a moment. So once you get to our website, you will see that this is what it looks like over on the left, and you can link to the application there. So it's important that a digital or electronic copy is required for submission, in addition to 9 hard copy, paper copies of the application and all the attachments. And I know that might be a burden to get 9 full applications on paper, but we do like to make notes on those applications. So that's it. And the deadline is February 27th at 4 p.m. And there are drop-off instructions right on the application. So I'm going to stop sharing this right now. And, well, no, I don't need to do that. Okay, so this is the actual application here. It's pretty self-explanatory as you go on. It gives you the information, the deadline, and the application instructions, which is, you can actually click on this link and that will bring you to the CPC website that has the application information that you need. And so, and then again, the DOR funding chart, you can link that here. So you were to select the application, what type of an organization that you are. And then this is a drop-down menu for the neighborhood that you plan on doing the project in. The program title, the location of the project, again, another, is this a drop-down menu? No. So here's the part where requires a little bit more explanation. So when you check the area.
Why you so hot? No.
What? I'm sorry. So right here, if you were to collect community housing, all the community housing questions would pop up. If you connect open space, the community housing questions will not pop up. So if your project is, say, community housing and historic, for example, then you should collect both of those options to get the questions for the community housing as well as the historic. If stop me if that's not clear. Okay, so here, anticipated date of construction, organization and individual. We do need a contact information. If you have a second person involved, please add their name as well. the amount of the grant requested, and if you're seeking multi-year funding, project budget, other sources of committed funding, and your budget. That's important for us to see. So you can upload the documents right to the application here. And then there's some questions to answer on sustainability of your project, how it will be maintained specifically for city departments, how you will maintain a park project that CPA funds. Then there's the Fair Wage Compliance Certificate that only applies to non-municipal projects over 50,000. Anything under 50,000, this is not something that you need to be concerned with, but we ask that you fill it out. The parcel ID of where the property is located, there's a link here that will bring you right to the website on the city website where you can find the parcel number by typing in the address. We'll need maps, which is also found on the city website, the GIS interactive map, which you click on and you can find your location, and you'll need to download the maps for this property. Another drop-down menu to who you are, the property owner, partner, etc. And again, and this part is important too for certain types of projects. Has the appropriate city agency been contacted? So for example, if your project is on open space, like previously Westminster Park that we funded, that application came to us, I think Bob mentioned, through the neighborhood. Well, that's city property, so the neighborhood council can't just go and build a park on that land. It has to work in partnership with the park because the city owns that land. So if your project is taking place at open space or recreation, then you'll need to contact one of these departments depending on what the project is. For community housing, historic resources, open space, or open outdoor recreation. Has the appropriate neighborhood civic association been contacted?
I'm sorry, Karen, can we back up a little bit? I'm sorry.
Yep.
Anyone who's doing community housing have to contact either Denise Jordan or Robert Demuse? Bob?
Bob, do you want to answer this?
Sure. So what we like to know is that obviously if you can get a letter of support, that's what's helpful in knowing that if you're a housing project, that the Office of Housing or the Housing Authority is supportive. The same thing with historic resources, whether the Historical Commission or the Springfield Preservation Trust is in favor. That is different though than if you are proposing to do work on a playground. In that case, it is the park department's property. You need to have a letter from them saying, we're going to allow this, because we certainly don't want to recommend a project only to find out that the park department won't allow it to take place on their land. So there are some agencies you're contacting simply to hopefully get a letter of support. And the same thing happens with the neighborhood associations. We want to make sure that the neighborhood that your project is in is aware of that you're proposing it. It's always good if they'll send a letter of support. But what we don't want to do is to find out that someone's proposing something in a neighborhood and the neighborhood council is totally oblivious to what's going on.
Right, which is the next, Laura Walsh, you want to go ahead? Laura is from the Department of Parks and Recreation. Go ahead, Laura.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for letting me jump in. I just want to make a comment regarding the open space and the outdoor recreation. If the project that you're looking to implement is in a park, that would have to come to the park department and the park commission, and then open space that's classified as conservation would go to the natural resource manager, Adam Anulowicz. So I just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you, Laura. Actually, I think that's on an upcoming slide, but it's good to mention it right here. Right, so it's not all the time that you have to contact these agency. It depends on the type of project that you're looking to do, which kind of dovetails into the neighborhood civic association. So we don't necessarily need the approval of a neighborhood to recommend a project. However, as a courtesy, it's good to contact the neighborhood that the project is going to be in to make them aware that this is something that you're looking to do, and a letter of support would be great. But if they are against the project, it doesn't necessarily mean that the committee would vote against the project. But it carries a little bit more weight when the community is supporting what you're doing.
But just to throw myself in there real quick, don't
Sure.
be discouraged. Nobody be discouraged. You know, get in there, get to learn what you need to learn, talk to the appropriate people. But even if somebody tells you no, Tracy, you know how I am. It doesn't matter. You give me a no. If it's a yes and the community wants it, do what you can to make sure that you're getting it for your neighborhood.
Thanks, Yolanda.
Thank you. I'm glad
Okay.
you said that, because the city council doesn't necessarily vote with what the neighborhood council says, or sometimes we even question this committee, but just make sure you just do your due diligence and keep going.
Right. And I think that's an important distinction, that we do like to see the support, but what we are requesting is that they've been notified. So it would be one of those two documents. Anything else on that? Not? All right. So in the application itself, that you have the option of typing in a response here, or you can attach it, you make it, upload the document as an attachment, whatever is easier for you. And that's what these questions are here. So we do need a response of the narrative, or you could type it in or attach it. Same with the project description and the applicant experience and the budget, which we saw earlier. That does have to be in your project. And any additional comments you want to make? And user experience. If you have suggestions on how to improve the form, please let us know. We are tweaking it. This is our second year using this form, and I'd like to see how it is working for you, if it's friendly to use. Any additional attachments, you can upload them here, just an electronic signature, or type it in. And then these are the instructions on how to save. So when you hit the save button, it gives you the option to send it to yourself, so you have a hard copy. It doesn't save it in an application where you can retrieve it later. You would need to go back to what you saved to do additional work on it. So that's an important distinction. I don't want anyone to think that they've saved a document and now they can't access it. You're sending yourself the saved copy to continue working on. And then when you're done, you just can review it for any red marks that will show up that needs, that you missed, or that needs completion, and then submit the final application. Okay, and then and you can see that here. So you hit this save button, it will allow you to send yourself a hard copy of what you just did. This just reviews the draft for any errors, and then you would submit a final application when everything is all set. So the submission requirements are, like I said earlier, 9 hard copies and 1 digital copy. Applications may be dropped off during the hours of 9 to 4, Monday through Thursday, February 24th to February 27th. And there are 2 ways to deliver the applications. You can hand deliver them to the election room office, room 25, and they will have a box marked CPA applications. Or you can mail them to the Community Preservation Committee, care of the election office. And yeah, those are the 2 ways. And deadline again is February 27th at 4 p.m. for both digital and paper copies. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I think there's actually a little bit more of the presentation. Sorry about that. Share. Sorry, I linked in through the application here. So getting back to the application is giving me a little bit of a issue here. So hold on. Sorry about
Well,
that.
there are a couple questions, Bob, in the chat. I'm sorry, I'm a facilitator by nature. And Latonia asks, is there a match requirement for the funding request? Also, is it reimbursable funding or is it upfront funding?
Oh, thank you. Those are very, very good questions. So we don't require a match. Obviously, we always like to see other people's money in partnership, but it is not a requirement of CPA. There are numerous projects that we were the sole funders of, and if we didn't fund them, they wouldn't have taken place. When it comes to funding, if you're not part of the city government, it is reimbursed. So let's just pretend that we were giving some a historic privately owned institutional building money for a new roof. They need to front the money, put on the new roof. We come and inspect it, make sure the new roof's on, and then give them the money. There are times that we do partial payments in part of the construction process, but non-municipal grantees do not get a check up front.
So if you're a municipal, though, it's a spend down. So the city departments, they would be allocated, say, 250,000, and they would just spend them down the money that they need. But any outside person or organization, what Bob just mentioned is the process for reimbursement.
Yeah, and I saw a question popped up about whether you could only submit one application. No, you can submit numerous applications,
Of different projects, though.
Correct. Well,
yeah.
yes, but yes, numerous applications for different projects. But not on the yes, and as Gloria has just chimed in, an application for each project. Do not give us an omnibus application that includes 5 or 6 different projects.
Correct. Okay. All right, I'll just continue.
Just to be clear on that point, if you put 2 in one application, that doesn't mean you're going to get 600,000, does it? Will it be like 2 projects still getting the 300,000 or?
So I think here's the, if, for example, there's a small developer who wants to build 5 affordable houses somewhere throughout Springfield, that should be one application because it's really one project. If someone is doing something and they want money for their historic streetlights, and they also want money to fix a park, and they want money to do sidewalk repair on sidewalks, that's really, unless it's for a specific, like Thompson Triangle, one space. But if it's in general throughout the neighborhood, that probably should be a sidewalk improvement program and a streetlight improvement program and whatever. And obviously those examples were not good ones because I don't think they fall under any of our.
No, I was going to say.
So I'm trying to think.
But I think the point here, Bob, is if the project is one project, then that's one grant, but don't combine 2 projects into one. No, that doesn't. All right. You know what, Tracy, does that clear or is there additional?
Well, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I think I'm hearing. If you're doing a bunch of affordable housing projects, it could be one. But my question is, what if you have one that might cost like, because to build housing is expensive, 350, and then you have another house and you want to do the same type of low income situation and it's another 350. Can you put two applications in and get 350 twice? And if you combine them to one application, will you get 700,000? Well, I'm going too
No,
far, but
Well, you wouldn't
1,000?
combine them. You would keep them separate.
but you're not gonna
Oh,
get.
wait a minute.
You're
If
not
the
gonna get 350
project
either.
is a project in
Not
total,
350.
say that you say, okay, we're gonna build these 5 houses on, Dorchester Street, which you can't because there's no land there. But on some street, there's gonna be 5 houses. And that's your project, and you call it the Dorchester Street project. Then that is one project containing 5 houses.
Well,
If
like
you,
Karen, like the row houses, right?
oh,
That
right,
guy,
okay.
right? Give an example of how we work the row houses.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good example, Yolanda. So last year, the applicant put in an application for each of I think it was 4 units of the row house. The
Mhm.
committee combined that application into one application that he could use the $300,000 of funding for any of the 4 units, but it was for the exterior of the project. So he did submit an application for each of those units because he owned three or 4 of those units. So he submitted an application for each, but the committee combined them into one because it's one project.
But what
Even
if they're scattered, but it's the same type of thing? Say a developer got projects on different streets, they're not all together.
So like for Regreen, like what Regreen Springfield did, they had several different projects. And Karen, we did what? We funded several different ones, I think 1 or 2. We couldn't do all, but
Oh, right. Yeah, that was last year. Okay, so they had like 4 different projects that they wanted to do throughout the city. But they were different, Yolanda. One was a vegetarian growth, rebuilding of a park that needed some trees and flowers.
but I
But
think
then
that's
there
what
was
Tracy's asking, like if she has a project, say, in Mason Square and then another one in East Springfield or another one, over there. You
If you
could put
send us, if
in,
you send us good application per project, we're going to evaluate each application per project, and we're going to be able to give you at best $300,000 per project. As long as there's solid applications that you've submitted, we're going to evaluate each one of those as if it are possibly separately, which is what you're asking for, and then we're going to
right.
grant what we
well,
can
hold
grant
on,
to the
Clinton.
best of
Hold
our
on,
ability.
Clinton. All right, so Tracy,
So she can
counselor.
do more than one
So
project.
say you put 5,
Tracy's fine.
a request for 5 housing units in one application. Then you would get 300,000 for those 5
Mhm.
applications. You wouldn't get it per building.
That's not what she's asking you.
Now she's not asking you that. She's asking, can she put in several
Separate
projects
applications.
and will they be looked at individually?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
I thought you were going to put all 5 projects into one application.
No.
No,
Oh,
they're
she's talking
separate,
about
but
different
yeah,
sites
they're
around the city.
separate but similar. You know what I'm saying? That like I could have a mixed use, I could have a single family, I could have a multifamily.
As long as they're separate applications, they'll be looked at individually.
Separate.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Clearer.
Clear. You sure?
I mean, does anybody else have any questions? I don't want to monopolize.
This is Dave Bonairs from Regreen Springfield, and we had we submitted
Dave.
five applications. Hi everybody. Hi Trace. We submitted 5 applications just last year for 5 different projects, 2 of which were funded. So we were very happy with that. But we figured because it's it takes a while for these to happen, and so that's why we put in the 5. But but we've never combined them into one project. We've always done them individually.
So he could have done that. He could have taken those 5 projects and
Yeah.
asked for X amount of funding. And the committee would look through that application and recommend a full grant, but it would be on the total. It wouldn't be
Right.
individually. So
Right.
I guess it depends on the project, which way you want to go.
Yeah, we
Okay.
never, we don't ask for the big money. We ask for the medium size or the small to medium size, which has been, fits our organization perfectly. So,
That's good because you can get more funded that way. So that's
yeah,
good.
yeah. So I just wanted to let you know.
Okay.
But just remember, guys, as many applications that we get in, as a committee, we try to be fair on, because we only get so much money. So, we do try to make sure that we spurts the money fairly and,
Mhm.
And if you ask for 29999, we're probably going to give you that other dollar.
We did. Actually, there was one last year and we did. Bumped him up.
All right, guys.
we did.
Jasmine asked another question, Bob. Karen.
Jasmine, go ahead.
My question is, what's the timeline for reimbursement from the city when doing a project as a small for-profit developer? So I know that we have to be reimbursed. When you're working with the city, is that a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day turnaround time when you submit your requisition?
Once we do an
Excellent
inspection.
question.
Okay, yes, another one. Once we do the inspection to see that everything's there that was agreed to, I take those invoices and it does require a receipt showing that you did in fact pay for it. And then usually within 10 days, the turnaround for reimbursement.
So is it by kind of like a draw schedule, meaning we can show that we've done foundation, framing, roof siding, windows, and we can submit a requisition? Or are you looking for us to complete the project in its entirety, submit one full requisition, and that get reimbursed at the end? Or can you
So
do
we've
it?
done both. We've done both.
I think we should, obviously there should be a discussion with us as to whether you would like 1/3 reimbursements at 1/3 points or half points, or what the goals are. What we certainly don't want to do is have a project that they put in the foundation and they bill us because they've paid their contractor, and then they put up their studs and they want us to bill. But certainly we've done either had midpoint reimbursements or 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Preferably, we like 1 reimbursement. 2 is ideal if you need that turnaround cash. But
It's
yeah,
just hard. It's hard, Karen, for new developers that
right.
don't really have the cash on hand, and then people got to get paid. So I do like a third, and a third method, but some can do the whole thing and some can do half. So
Right.
I like that you all have that flexibility and that option and opportunity at least.
And the halves keeps the administrative costs down as well. If
Yeah.
if administrative cost goes up, the more times you got to go after the same work.
Correct. Okay.
There's another
right.
question.
Any other questions, or should I continue with the application tips?
I think Latonia, did we answer Latonia's question?
No.
Is she there?
No. Her question was, are there certain aspects or limitations on what is covered for repairs, upgrades for historical properties? Does it matter if it's a commercial versus residential? Historical property.
Oh, okay. So it does depend on the size of the project, historical. So for example, the Brookings School is a historical building, but there is no way that we have the funds for that entire project. So the CPA will fund the exterior elements relating to the historic piece of it. So it may be cleaning the bricks, it may be certain elements on the building that are historic that are preserved and restored. So it does depend on the size of the project for the historic piece of it. And one of the slides earlier was the community music school, the front of their building where you saw it was a beautiful brass, and it was the other was kind of a murky old nasty looking front side. That's restoration for a historic building. And so the brass was cleaned. But that's exterior. Everything is exterior in those programs, except for if there is an disability access that needs to happen inside the building. So there are some exceptions to that, but for the most part, it's exterior work. And whatever the CPA pays for needs to be the historic piece of it, unless it's a part of a larger project, like the community housing over at the Gemini project. We just paid towards the project because I think that was like a $20 million project. And I think we gave like in total, maybe almost 300,000 or so. So it does depend on the project, how it's laid out. I don't know. Was that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
But we do need more in our community for people to grab these grant money, especially new developers coming in, especially Springfield residents. You know, I'm all for that. Springfield residents learning how to build their own and in their community when it comes to affordable housing.
Yes, Yolanda.
Yeah, I mean, a housing trust where there
So
is, you know, there's
let's
a
get
lot.
on to the
All right.
application process. So
Okay.
Yeah.
there was a question on housing. Can soft costs be counted? And I guess the answer is that if that's part of the project, it can be. Clearly, we're more comfortable when our money goes though to brick and mortar. You also include acquisition. So once you say the word acquisition, and it's coming up now on this slide, the state law says that whenever you use CPA money to acquire anything, you have to put a restriction on it. So for housing, it would be an affordability restriction. If all we're doing is helping to build it, it doesn't necessarily need a perpetuity restriction. So you know, is for people who are doing housing, you may want to ask us to be helping with construction issues, not acquisition issues. And if you can avoid soft cost issues, that's always best.
That's
But
a really great point to make, Bob, especially for like the preservation restriction. That just because it's a historic building or just because it's an old building, it doesn't mean it's a historic building. And you wouldn't want to apply for a grant under the historic category because there are restrictions in that category. And those are outlined in the guidelines as well. There's more information on that part of it.
Great questions, Jasmine.
Yeah, really. And again, it depends on the category that you also apply in. So for example, the community housing restriction would apply if community preservation funds were the community housing funds, which are different than the historic funds, which have different requirements, or the open space and recreation. So what am I trying to say here, Bob?
Well, it is confusing, but there are differing standards and rules that we have to apply to community housing than we have to apply to housing that's historic housing.
So if it was undesignated funding, for example, and that's how you were funded for your housing project, would you fall under having to have an affordability restriction? What's the answer, Bob? So if they get funded through not the community housing funds, but the
It's what
undesignated
category, it's
funds,
what category they're asking for. So even if they're getting undesignated funds, if they're coming to us as a community housing project, we handle them as a community housing project.
where an
And
affordability restriction
there
would
would
be
be
required.
there's be some kind of affordability. You know, I have to say in general, when we've worked with community housing projects, they've been big projects. We have been small partners with Gemini, small partners with the Elias Brookings, small partners with what's going to be going on Buyer Street. And they have other state funding sources that for sure are demanding affordability restrictions. So, you know, if you're talking about a developer who doesn't have access to any of these funds, then they only have to deal with us. But I think our feeling is if it's, you know, if it's community housing, it should be affordable housing, not just now, but 10 years from now and 20 years from now.
But that's not required, like you don't have to get, what is it called? The stipulation, what's it called? Unless it's an
The affordability restriction is required only when you use CPA money to acquire something that will be affordable housing. The rest is, let's call it not state required, but it may be required by us as a condition if we're recommending the projects. Because I don't think we want to recommend, let's say, that there be an affordable house built and in 5 years it's being sold to a non-affordable household. That's an awful lot of money
how do you
going
settle
in.
that? Like what type of condition are you looking for? 20-year commitment? Like, and how would the developers put the condition on the property?
We would be working with the city's Office of Housing to come up to use a standard format. And it's something that gets reviewed. Now, let me say this, Tracy, we on all of the community housing projects we've done to date, there have been other bigger agencies putting in their money. So we've never been the one to say there's got to be a restriction here. Someone else
Piggybacked on it. Yeah.
Hmm?
We've piggybacked on their restriction.
Correct.
They were already building low income or affordable housing. They were already building that, so it already had those restrictions.
Well, they had agreed to their funding source that they would put it on. So yes, we just went along with whatever the other bigger agencies were requiring. So if we were funding someone who had no other funding source other than CPA, this would be new territory for us.
Well, we do have the example of Buyer Street from last year, where the city of Springfield put out an RFP for Buyer Street, and they used community housing funds to do it. So we did put a restriction, and there's only 3 units there. So we did put a restriction on the units because they're on 2 of the 3. Right, because they are using CPA funds to purchase or acquire the building.
Yeah, I know, but I think that you guys need to talk about or start a process about property that already exists that may be getting rehabilitated or built from the ground up. Like how for smaller developers, how would you go about putting restrictions on it? Because what I would hate is for those smaller developers to be counted out because they didn't go through a process to clarify what the restriction is going to be. So now, you know, that may cause them not to get the funding. I think that it needs to be looked at and it should be told like to a developer that is smaller, that don't already have like what Gemini sites and Wayfinders and Home City Development has already in place. They should be able to figure out how to put a restriction on how long do we want it to be, like what is the negotiating factors Because if they come in and do say 5, we'll restrict it for 5 years, then they're automatically probably going to be disqualified. And I don't think that's fair because they don't have
So
any
are you
guidance.
talking about a single family home or are you talking about a multi-family
It could be
home?
any home that's not going through the acquisition process. It could be a quadruplex, but it's not going through acquisition, so the restriction isn't mandated or required. So, but the city and CPA team is gonna want some type of restriction to make sure it's low income or unaffordable, then we need a procedure for that. Because I think that's an unfair disadvantage to not have a procedure, to not know how long to put a restriction on, or to say in your application that we're going to restrict this for 10 years, or if the city want to see 20 years, or the CPA team want to see 20 years, and they put 10, that might disqualify them just because of that. So that I think
So
that's
there
something that
are a lot of municipalities throughout the Commonwealth who are facing similar questions. And I won't say there's a standard, but there are models that other municipalities use. And because we haven't had this be presented with this before, we haven't really looked into, dive deep into that because we don't have an application that does that. So if
Well, I
we
just
do
want to say I got about 7 small developers on here that are probably going to put in 7 different applications that are not going to be big projects. And this is why I'm saying maybe you all should come together at your next meeting and look at the process and see what that's going to be, because I think it's an unfair advantage if they we'll put this restriction, the low income restriction on for 10 years, but the CPA team said, oh, that's too low. This one said 20 years and they get a better rating. There got to be a guideline in place on how the
I agree, Tracy. It's something that we'll be looking at in the next couple of months.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
you could also reach out to the coalition if you wanted to, Counselor,
Okay.
and look
Okay.
at their website because it's a great resource of projects that have been done throughout the state, what the category was, and some good examples on what gets funded. So that's a resource to look at while you're looking at your application process.
All right, I will check that out and see what they're doing. Karen and Bob, and I'll circle back with the team.
It's also important to note that just because an application comes in, excuse me, and they might say, I'll put a restriction for 1 apartment or whatever, the committee isn't going to automatically reject it. Oftentimes, most times, when we look at an application, if we have questions, we then email that applicant and ask for clarification. So you would not just automatically be tossed out of the pile just because you have some number that we don't think is appropriate. We would definitely go back and discuss it with you. So it shouldn't be a big concern right now for anybody putting in an application. Do your work, fill in the application, and if we need other information or we have other suggestions, we will make that to you, and then you will have an appropriate amount of time to respond to us before we make our final decisions.
Yep, and I love that, Gloria. That's
Good point,
awesome.
Gloria.
But I think the process still needs to be fair and equitable. And so if there's going to be a standard on low income housing restrictions, that should be the standard across the board. Some people shouldn't get a 10, some people shouldn't get a 20. It should be a standard across the board. So I'll do my research on that other website, but I just wanted to put that out there for your consideration.
Thank you, Tracy.
Okay, so well, we've talked about most of this slide. And I think it's just important to know that the projects that involve property, land, or building, that the appropriate neighborhood council is contacted, letter of support. Same thing for recreation project. And just a note on the recreation project, I don't know if Laura is still on. But if your project is a project that takes place on park property, they have a procedure. Laura, are you on? Because you could explain it if you want, or I can just go ahead with it.
Sure, I'm here, Karen.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. If your project is a park related project or improvement or a monument improvement, things like that, you're encouraged to reach out to the park department, to email Tom Ash directly with your project idea and your any questions and things like that that you have, so we can start those initial conversations. We can also assist with putting applications together. But ultimately, all projects related to the park department will have to be approved by the park commission. And we usually, the date has not been set yet, but you would anticipate a park commission meeting probably in the beginning of February, beginning to middle of February, to allow people time to put their applications together. And then a letter of support would be submitted with your application from the park commission if they are in support of it. So best to reach out to us early so we can start talking about the project and the details and helping where we can. And the best way to do that is to send an email directly to Tom Ash. And his email is here in the website, but it's tash@springfieldcityhall.com.
And thank you, Laura. Actually, you could probably talk a little bit. Last year, the Treetop Park, which we funded, that came from the neighborhood. They talked with you and you helped develop that application, but they did need to go in front of the Park Commission first to for your process. So
yeah, they kind of happen in a parallel. Like we're not going to wait to the last minute for people to submit their request to the Park Commission for review. So that's why it's important to contact us early on to make sure that what you're thinking for your park, is it appropriate, is it not? Some parks are deeded in a certain way where you may be thinking this is a great spot for a splash pad or a playground, but that may have been deeded as a passive space, things like that. So we can help flush out the details of the project early on, and then help with the application, get you the details. If you need help with budgeting for what it would cost for a park renovation project, and things like that, we can help with as we go forward. And then the Park Commission meeting would most likely be in February.
excellent. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Laura.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. And we're happy to answer any questions, but just reach out to us. The sooner the better.
Okay.
I'd like to follow up, Laura, if I could.
Sure.
So that application for Treetop, just go back to that example, it came from the neighborhood. Was it submitted by the neighborhood with the support of the Parks Department?
Yes, but we did help them put together the application because their organization didn't have the capacity to do that. So it is something that we can help with if folks need help putting their applications together, but ultimately it comes from the neighborhood.
And then how was that funded? Was that a drawdown through the Parks Department?
Yeah, all of our projects are drawdowns.
So they become park projects.
Yeah, the funding gets awarded to the department to manage and maintain and to implement the grant.
Right, the neighborhood council wouldn't get the funding. It would go to the parks because it's park property. But the idea came from the neighborhood, which we like to see, those bubble up projects coming from neighborhoods.
Yeah, and we do too. There's a lot of, as Bob was saying earlier in the presentation, there's many projects and park improvement projects or memorial improvement projects, things that the park department doesn't have the capacity to do without a grant to make these renovations. So hearing from the neighborhood and really investing in what the neighbors want to see in their parks is what we're hoping to do. And having this CPA funding available really has helped us implement a lot of these projects that otherwise would not be getting done. So we definitely want to hear from folks. We call early, call often, and we're happy to help anyone if it's a viable project.
Yeah, like the bike park. Like we needed to look for the bike park somewhere.
Correct.
And we found it. And hey, the Parks Department worked. Laura has been a champion, with trying to find a place. And we had I think that bike park got moved around so many times, and we finally, with the bikes park, with Laura and the rest of the team there, they found the spot, and everything is run through them. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a fun project. It's construction stopped for the moment because of the weather, but
Mhm.
we'll get back out there in the spring, and we're looking forward to it. So thank you for your support of these projects.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You had
Karen?
what is the success rate to restore stained glass, non-religious windows? Somebody asked that.
Is that on this slide or did I miss it?
Oh.
Wait, what's your question again?
It
I'm
was a
sorry.
question in the chat.
What's the success rate for restoration of stained glass and non-religious windows?
Is there, Karen, is there something, a question in the chat? Because I'm not able to access
Yeah.
that. So,
It's in the
Okay.
chat.
I don't see it.
You don't see it, or
I
is
don't
it
see it
in
at all.
is it in the, yeah, because this.
Oh, I see it. It's way up.
Yeah.
Okay, could you read that, please? Because when this slide is up, I can't really get to the
What?
chat, so.
What is the success rate for restoration of stained glass, non-religious windows?
well,
I'm not sure we could come up with a success rate.
correct. I mean, clearly, we have recommended projects that do ornamental window restoration. We've done it in the George Walter Vincent Smith Museum. You can see those windows here. We've done window replacement at the School Street School where the YSET program is, and at the Fine Arts Museum. And we have done it at Christ Church Cathedral, but only with windows that do not have religious iconography in them. We have to be very careful in keeping state and religion separate, and therefore anything that deals with religious imagery, we will not be recommending funding.
So a building may have, say, 10 windows, and 3 of them have some religious imagery. We may still fund the other 7, just not those 3. So because it's a stained glass window, it doesn't mean automatic either way. Our preservation consultant would go out to, whether it's a church or wherever it is, and she would review those. So that would be one of the steps that would need to be made. So let's say, they got the grant. Well, before we move forward with it, each of those windows would be reviewed for appropriateness to fund. And I guess that brings us to this historic resource. Bob had mentioned what is a resource, which is building, structure, vessel, or real property or artifact. But also, if you have a rehabilitation project, the work must comply with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, and the specs must be reviewed by our preservation consultant before work begins. So that's something to expect, that would be a step once you receive the grant. In the meantime, that if there is going to be work done exterior, that there's also the process of the Springfield Historic Commission. So CPA assisted historic properties are required to be permanently protected if the property is not already under the exterior controls of a local historic district. The owner must petition the Springfield Historic Commission to create the local historic district. And if a local historic designation is not possible, an exterior perpetuity preservation restriction will be required, but it doesn't have to be in place when the application is submitted. So that's important to know, that for historic properties, there's a multi-step process, but it all doesn't need to be in place at your application. We just need to know that you understand what is necessary in order to receive the grant under the historic category. And we would expect that the building was assessed to be, what's the term, Bob? Not appropriate, but significant to the area. And that would need to come from the Springfield Historic Commission. I think might be missing something here, Bob. Do you want to fill in those?
Well, certainly, if it's not actually listed on the state register, you need to go before the Springfield Historical Commission and get a determination from them
That's what
that
it's
the
called.
building is significant to the community because of history, architecture, archaeology, or culture. And once again, the Springfield Historical Commission meets twice a month. So if you're a historic project, you should be getting on their agenda soon to get that determination. And they obviously, one of their options is to say, well, you're not significant, in which case you are then not CPA eligible. But
So do
that's
they
their
send an
decision,
email,
not our
Bob?
decision.
Do they send an email to the Historic Commission to get on the agenda?
They would send an email to the staff person, and Judy Kroll, who's the Historical Commission delegate to the Preservation Committee, said the next meeting is January 16th, and then there'll be two probably in February. So
Good to know. So that needs to happen soon if you're going to fall under this category of historic resource. Just like with the Park Department has their deadline to apply with them to the Park Commission, the Historic Commission has their deadline, you know, by the times that they meet, and our application is due February 27th. Judy, do you have anything you want to add to this section?
No, Bob did a really good job. Thank you.
Okay, then.
And let me just say also, if you're thinking of anything that involves conservation land, then you should be in touch with the Conservation Commission as well.
Yes. Actually, and those names are listed earlier in this slide, which will be on our webpage, this slide. So you can look at the presentation later more carefully. But in here are the email addresses for each of those areas, the conservation, housing, and open space. So I don't know, I'm not seeing it here, but their addresses are in there. Okay, any other questions on that, or I can continue with the fair wage policy?
Well, you had a couple more questions from Cindy Gaynor. Did you want to answer those, or?
Gloria, could you read those, please?
I'm on it.
Okay. Okay.
One of the questions was, again, somebody, Jasmine agrees with needing a standard across the board because she built with a 15-year restriction, not knowing that was negotiable, and another developer got to have 10 years. So that's important to her, and as it should be. And Jasmine thinks that guidelines are important, but please keep in mind restrictions of 10 or less are better for finding a proper buyer who can benefit but not lose out on equity growth as their family size may grow and may need to scale to a larger home. And then there was a question.
Wait, so that was more of like a statement? I don't know if it's a question to be answered. Bob, what do you think?
It was a statement, not a question.
But there are questions up from Cindy Gaynor. I think Gloria has to go up a bit more.
Yeah, I posed questions while we were in the middle of the conversation around the guidelines. So there's 3 separate questions.
Is there a ratio or guideline used to determine how projects are selected? Is it more advantageous for a developer to demonstrate the ability to contribute more funding compared to other entities? How do development
Well, we could probably answer that question. Can you repeat that question again?
Is there a ratio or guideline used to determine how projects are selected?
Okay, so the committee has a guideline, and those guidelines come from the community preservation plan, which was voted in as these are our priorities for the year. And those will be on our website in the community preservation plan. So those particular focus of that year, they use as a guideline. But as far as like if you're asking if someone was funded last year for a housing project, would they get priority next year? Or does the committee look at it and say, okay, well, they got funded last year, so we're not going to fund them this year? That's not something that they do. It's on each individual application is given 100% attention as being submitted this year, and irrelevant how many times they've been funded before. Is that pretty
Okay,
accurate?
and then the second part, is it more advantageous for a developer to demonstrate the ability to contribute more funding compared to other entities? How do development urgency or organizational needs influence project selection?
So if there's an emergency that comes through, there are times when people send in an off-cycle application. Like, for example, if there's a piece of property that came up that would be great conservation land, but it's off-cycle, would the committee consider that because it's of an emergency nature? It has to be, it's being sold soon. So yes, they would consider that. But I don't know, could you read that again, Gloria?
Yep, hold on. Is it more advantageous for a developer to demonstrate the ability to contribute more funding compared to other entities? And I don't think that that's been a consideration for us in our deliberations.
I think the committee can speak to that.
Well,
Yes. Why don't you go ahead?
Unless, for example, it's a project that's it's a very costly project and we can only fund the 300,000. It's always good to know that they have other funding so that the project will get done. So yes, we do at times look at if they have other monies coming in from other sources, not just ours, especially in a project that's very costly.
Right. So if the project was, say, $3 million and our top is 300,000 and you have no other resources, how are you going to fund the rest of it? Yes, that question would be asked. Because we wouldn't just give out the 300,000 and then hope that you can finish the project. I mean, there has to be an end date to it, a start and end date to the project being completed.
And the reason for this is because we've had projects that come and they haven't had the money, and even though it's gotten approved, they couldn't finish the project.
Right. So,
Karen, at some point, you will go over the process of us having a meeting with the applicant. And
that's coming up. That's
okay. Just so that people know that will be part of this, and that will help you.
You know, I have one question that's on the Facebook video meeting here from Kelly Reagan.
Oh, it doesn't come up on mine.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay, so it says, can these funds be applied for a project already underway that has proven to be running over budget, like a historic renovation? Bob, do you want to take that? So if a project's already underway and they're running over budget, can they apply for the funding?
Well, sure. I mean, it's still, I mean, we can be part of it. Now, once again, this would come up as we get further down, but, you know, applications are due at the end of February. We don't end up making recommendations to city council until June, the earliest. Then the contract has to be drawn up by the law department. And if it's a historic project, the work has to be reviewed by our preservation consultant. So just so as long as people know that there is a timeline that is probably nine to 10 months from when applications are due before anyone can start spending money, assuming city council has voted the funding. But sure, if someone's in the process of renovate, either doing community housing or doing historic preservation, they can apply.
Right. I mean, they don't have to begin a new project. It can be a project that's in the works already, but that our funding would still, if it was
It's still got to be eligible
yeah.
and meet all the requirements.
Right.
So if you've been doing work that doesn't meet the secretary's standards, that's going to be a problem.
Good point. Yes. I don't know. She doesn't have a follow-up here. I don't know if she's on or she's just typing into the video chat here. So do you have anything else, Gloria?
Cedric asked about a substantial completion date. I'm not sure. I replied, I don't understand what you mean. Are you asking if a project must be completed in a year? I'm waiting for him to reply. But there are no
other
specific
okay, so let's
dates
address that real quick. So when you sign the contract on your application, it asks you, how long will it take for this project? How long do you need? And if you say a year, then that's what your contract is for. If you say 3 years, then that's what your contract is for. I don't think we want to go further out than 3 years. But at the same time, there have been many projects that thought that they could finish in a year, and it turns out not so fast. So it's maybe taken them another 6 months or a year or 2 years. So we can write amendments to those contracts, but we like to avoid that if possible by having you give us your best estimate for when that project will finish.
And here's another one. Are there limitations on developers in terms of developer fee and overhead?
I don't know if I understand that question.
I don't understand it either.
Well,
read it again, please.
So there isn't. And once again, you know, the bottom line is that by and large, we have been involved with either municipally funded projects or municipal projects or nonprofit projects. In terms of the community housing projects where there's quite often a developer fee, we've been a very small participant in a much bigger project, and that's built into their budget. And we have not bothered looking at it very closely because once again, we're giving $300,000 to a $15 million project. So we don't have a standard for that. Obviously, if we look at your budget and you're building a house and you're charging $100,000 of soft costs to build $150,000 of brick and mortar costs, we might be saying, we need to ask about this.
Yeah, which further goes to Gloria's point that's coming up on the opportunity for the grantee. But let me finish with the fair wage policy. Again, it applies only to non-municipal grant requests over 50,000. The Springfield Community Preservation Committee requires certification of compliance with wage and hour and other employment-related laws prior to issuing of contracts. So that would be in there if that applies to anyone. I don't know if there's any questions on this. If not, we can get to the approval process. So the applications are due February 27th. The CPC will review the project applications March and April, and that's a meeting with the applicants. So at that time, you would have 5 minutes to present a summary of your project. And again, the committee members will have already received the application, so they're aware of what you're asking for, and they may have questions. So after your 5-minute presentation, the committee would ask questions about your project for any clarifications that they would want to know. So you have that opportunity to meet with the committee. The next thing is then those meetings are done. The CPC will recommend a list of projects for funding to the city council. And those are the deliberations. So the committee meets May and June, however long it takes, depending on the number of applications that are submitted. Maybe it takes longer or shorter, but usually between May and June, they have made their decision on the recommendations. And then the chair goes in front of the city council and reviews each of the recommendations to the city council, and the city council either approves or rejects them individually. And then once the council recommends that the city council, I have the wrong word here, the city council approves, which is sometime in the summer, hopefully. By November, the contract should be started in the works. And the reason why I'm hesitating a little bit is because this is a little bit of a fluid process. It does depend on when the city council meets. If they've taken the summer off, if the committee gets the deliberations done by a certain date. So it's a little bit fluid here, but generally this is what we're looking to do. So by November to January, that's when the contract will be in front of the now grantee. And you can see that that's almost a year. So this is not a quick process that if you need something like next month, that's not probably going to happen because it takes a timeline to do this grant process.
And Karen, we have the wrong date down there. We didn't change. It's November 2025 to January 2026.
Sorry.
But I think people understand that.
Thanks for pointing that out. I'll change it
I
before
should
I
have caught it
upload it.
earlier, but
Yeah. All right,
You
I'll change
can't
it before you upload
working
it.
on the project. You can't have started working on the project before they are approved.
You
correct.
can start working on it. However, if you want funding for that piece of the project, then that would not be covered by CPA. So say, for example, that you want to put your foundation in because of the weather, you want to get that in, then we probably wouldn't pay for the foundation part of it, but that doesn't mean that you can't keep going. Because you'd want to be specific and say, we're asking for funding for, X, Y, and Z. And so that's what would be funding. But if you've already started the project, you know that the foundation is already done. So we will not cover that. Bob, is that clear, or is there something else you want to add to that?
No, I think, and certainly there are times that people have, well, using, let's say an example of, let's say, one of the Springfield museums. If they've asked us for window work, they can't be doing the window work till they've signed a contract. But if they're doing a total renovation of a museum and they're now putting on a new roof, if we haven't been asked to pay for the new roof, they can certainly do that.
Gotcha.
Right. I mean, I think that's an important question, Counselor, because you would not be reimbursed for work done before you sign the contract with us.
Well,
I guess that's the
yeah,
easiest way to say it, right?
and I think since if we have small housing developers in front of us, I mean, I don't think, if indeed you're asking for us to do money.
Oh, we lost Bob.
Did she freeze up? I think what he might be trying to say is if you're looking to ask us to fund something that you've already started, you can't be reimbursed for.
An instance, so when we first started CPA, that the library asked us for fixing their decorative lights. And before we finished our deliberation projects, the lights had been fixed. And it's kind of like, well, no, we're not reimbursing you for work that you've already done before you've been approved.
So the timing of that is important too, depending on what you're looking to have funded through the grant.
But just as something to always keep in mind, that something like that, it's not only what our committee would say, it's also the qualifications for those grants from the state as well. So it's not just what we say, it's what the state says in a lot of these. So just to keep that in mind each time.
That's a
Because
good point, Juanita. And frequently what happens each year that at least one time that we would contact the coalition to run by them the scenario of what's being asked, because we don't know everything. And that's why the coalition is there. So if there are questions that we're unsure of, we won't just give you an answer unless we know that that's true. So we could check that out with,
because the
the-
coalition has their guidelines that we have to follow as well.
Yolanda asks, is CPA a good place for a land trust organization?
Well, certainly CPA can fund applications that come from land trust. It's complicated. We've never done it, so it would be a learning process for us. But
that's when we'd
certainly
contact the coalition, Bob, right?
yeah, there certainly are other communities that have funded land trusts. Obviously, the land trust needs to be restricting whatever it's doing that's getting CPA money to income eligible projects. But yes.
Okay, because
bottom
that's a
line-
good idea for, like what Tracy's trying to, and the developers on here maybe doing something also as a land trust. I know years ago, Michael Ambizzi was trying to harness that, and I really haven't seen anything being moved since then, but, that's probably something or an idea to throw out there.
Well, I mean, I can throw out this idea, which isn't probably my place to do so, but there is the Springfield Land Trust that's not funded in the city of Springfield that certainly could be contacted to work out some kind of, project with them.
Like to purchase land, I guess I'll talk about that later. I could be on here all day with questions, so I'll follow up later.
It is a little bit more complicated, the housing trust, but absolutely can be done. So I think, okay, so again, just the drop-off applications. Again, a drop box is located out inside City Hall. Please don't drop off your applications in the voter's box so that they're sitting outside in the voter box, because we won't get them that way. You have to walk into City Hall and put them in the election office in the container that they'll have there for CPA applications, or mail them in care of the election office, room 25. And any other information will be on our community preservation webpage on the City of Springfield, and also updates on our Facebook page. So that is the end of the presentation.
Karen, can I
Yes.
just, to anyone who's interested in submitting an application, if you are interested, then do it. The minutia stuff, we will all work out. We're not going to pick up an application and say, I don't know what she's talking about, or he's talking about, or they're talking about. Forget it. No, when you come to us, we will ask you questions. Sometimes we don't. We understand what you wrote. Sometimes we have a lot of questions to ask you, and we will ask you for follow-up information. So don't be intimidated. Just do it. Answer those questions to the best of your ability, submit the application, and if we have questions, we will ask you. And then the hard part comes for us, at least I think for the rest of the committee, is trying to take this big list of applications and whittle it down to fit in the pot of money we have. That's not easy, but we try our best to do that. And we try to be equitable across the city. We don't want to give everything to one neighborhood, and we don't want to give everything to the Parks Department. We want to parcel it out. So you will get a fair shake, as fair as we can do. That's it. My preaching is done.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess if there are no more questions, we'll go on to the regular business. So the question is what's the total amount? We have about $2.5 million that we can recommend to City Council for projects.
2.5, okay.
And
That's
it-
including the 10% buckets?
That includes the 10% bucket, a grand total of 2.5 million. And in years past, we've funded projects to the max, which would be the 300,000. And we've had projects as small as, let's say, 5,000. So it's a variety of ranges that we've funded or recommended funding City Council funds.
And
And I
don't
find
let
you
that
all very
amount of money
fair.
stop you from applying. Apply.
Right. Apply. I find you all very fair and diligent. I'm talking to the CPA committee right now. Hey, Todd, I see Todd. Hey, Todd. But I just find you all very, very good, helpful, and fair. And when you bring the projects to us, you're very knowledgeable about them. So I know you're really doing your due diligence. So thank you for doing this, because this is a volunteer position. So I just want the community to know that this is a volunteer position that you sign up for, and you really are a great committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks for everyone.
Thank
If
you.
you have other questions that come to you, certainly email Karen and we will try to answer them to the best of our ability. Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, great. So we're gonna hold our regular monthly meeting. Anyone's welcome to stay. If not, thanks for joining us. Bob, you wanna, here,
Thank
well,
you. I guess, we have a quorum here, Gloria from the Planning Board, Juanita, the Conservation Commission, Steve, a neighborhood rep, Yolanda, neighborhood rep, Clinton from the Park Commission, Judy from the Historical Commission, and me from the Springfield Preservation Trust. So the first item is approval of the last month's minutes. If we could have a motion in a second for the minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Kidding.
So we'll take the vote then, Gloria.
Yes.
And Karen, take down the agenda.
Yep. Doing that now.
Yeah,
Yep.
we don't need it. All right, so Juanita,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Yolanda,
Yes.
Clinton,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
and Bob is a yes. Under contract requests, I don't think we have anything, at least for this meeting. We had a belated request coming in from Trinity Church, but it was too late to put them on for the 48-hour notice. They have determined that they wish to terminate the contract we have with them for work to their window. So we'll be taking that up at our next meeting. So the The next item is the historic homes lottery. You know, we had the lottery last December for those people who are owner occupants of houses in local historic districts. We give out grants up to from $15,000 to $30,000 for exterior work. Usually from 10 to 12 people are able to get a grant. We had 228 people in the lottery. We selected the numbers. Karen has begun working with them. And then she was contacted by an owner who noticed that their property was not in the lottery, even though they applied. And come to find out the property had inadvertently been removed because Karen confused it with a property a couple doors away that was a non-owner occupied property. So the woman wants, obviously, her opportunity to take care of the lottery. We suggested to her two options, that one of which was we would hold a secondary lottery to establish a number for her. And based on that number, if it were really low, she would get a grant like all of the people who had really low numbers. And if it wasn't, then she wouldn't, just like all the other people who were higher numbered and there wasn't enough money to go around.
That was one option. That was one remedy.
Yeah, and the second remedy is we suggested that when we have the 2025 lottery, we would give her two entries. So one would be for that and one would be for the entry that she didn't get for 2024. So she recently responded to us and said, well, and Karen, why don't you, I don't know if you want to read her email or.
Well, basically, this is what it was. So we presented those two options to her. And the homeowner presented then a third option. And I explained to her that I would bring this to the committee and you can make a decision if you want to do remedy 1, 2, or 3, or if you have something different you want to say. But this is what the homeowner would like to see. She would like to do the special lottery, just as Bob laid out there, only remove those applicants that already won. So that would give her better odds. And also, I don't know if this is part of it in total or in lieu of, but she would also like a second entry in this special lottery. So remedy number 1, actually how it was listed to her. So we'll say that here so the committee can vote on 1, 2, or 3. Remedy number 1 was that she would get a second entry into the next lottery. Remedy number 2 was we would run a simulation lottery with the same number, with everything the same. So there are no changes to how we did it the last time, except that we're adding an additional address, which is hers. And then that will select a number for her. If she is between 1 and 10, she would receive a grant. Anything above that, she perhaps will receive a grant, depending on the funding at that point. So this would give her a number that we would add to the original sort. So in other words, if she comes in, say at number 15, then there would be 2 number 15s. Better example, 2 number 11s. So each number 11 has the equal amount of opportunity for whatever those leftover funds are. So that seemed to be as fair of a remedy as we could think of. And then the
Karen?
homeowner came up with the third remedy. Yes.
So Karen, in this simulated, would the other people's names be on there?
Yes. And
No.
remedy number 2 that we suggested,
Right.
yes.
But they wouldn't.
But it would no. So let me be clear that there is no change to the people who have already won.
Right. That's important.
Right? Yeah.
So what happens if you have a simulation and can we have a simulation without those names? Because what would happen if in the second lottery, the first 10 come out differently than the 10 we had?
Okay, so good question. All right, so this simulation is just what the word says. It's a simulation
Okay.
of what would have happened had she been included the first time around. So this gives her the opportunity to apply for this grant and win. That's all this is a because of the omission, we're giving her the opportunity to run a lottery, and the only winner possible could be her. So depending on where she falls in that sort, she would win if she comes in 1 through 10.
So,
So none of the other, so it doesn't affect any of the winners or any of the original sort in any adverse way. Everyone is still in the same position that they were in a couple weeks ago when we ran the first lottery. No one is harmed in that scenario.
so she thinks the third option gives her a better chance because you're taking 10 people out, right? So there's fewer balls to,
Well, there would be actually more than 10. It would be a
Yeah.
few more. I haven't figured out that number, but it would
Okay,
be a
but
few more.
she gets, yeah, okay. So it's a better odds for her, that one. Interesting.
Right.
Well, but it's better odds for everyone who's remaining in it. She doesn't get an advantage if we remove the winners of the December lottery.
Right, but the only one that is going to be considered is her.
Yes, it's only her.
Yes.
Her address.
Yes. I missed that. Yes.
So,
Yes.
so to me, I find that there's a part of that I find problematic. There's always because it's public, and there's always going to be somebody to say, hey, that second one, I came out, now why can't it be blind? And just
What do you mean?
blind by hers is the only name. The other names are not, they could be numbers. Because I guess I could see somebody saying, hey, on that second one, I would have won.
I see what you're saying, Juanita,
Well,
because the 10 people who are not going to be touched, they could fall somewhere else in this simulation and not be in the top 10.
Presumably, yeah.
So why if we
run it again and the 10 people don't get touched, I can see what Juanita's saying, because
I could see somebody calling and
saying, hey, on the simulation, I was number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
So,
I understand.
And the other would work the same. It would be the same numbers. Hers is the only name that on it, and to see where she comes out. But I could see somebody, I could see a whole lot of people come and saying, hey, I like that second one better. How come we can't be part of that second one? Especially if she does win something, if she becomes one of the 10. I don't know. That's just.
Well, I think that we're losing
yeah.
sight of the issue here. We are honoring her application that she sent in on time to be included in a lottery. And so the 228 people who were run for the lottery should not be harmed in any way.
No.
And so this is a solution that doesn't harm anyone. Nobody takes any advantage. The only thing we're doing is running the same lottery to see where she places. So
well, and it could be, it's the same thing you're saying, only the names wouldn't show up.
Yeah, I like Juanita's thought of that, because you're right.
Assign them all a number then.
Yeah, just to have anonymous, everything's anonymous, just a number, except for
It's a
her.
number. Except for hers, and hers is the real one. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
There's no chance for anybody saying, hey, let's go with the second one.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Now, granted, we could argue that, well, this is a remedy because she was, slighted, et cetera, but still, you're right. That's that could be an issue.
Potential. Yeah.
Potential. I'm just saying it may never happen, but
yeah, I like
things
that.
happen.
I like
Things
that approach.
happen.
This is the fourth approach, number 4, right?
So
No,
that's
it's
simple
actually
enough
it's
to
the
do.
same. It's the same one, only without names. It's just the one Karen is talking about, only with no names.
With no names.
So just for clarification, this is a minor point, we don't use names. What's on the lottery is you see the street address.
Well,
But
but
Right.
the
But
person
just
who's
like
on
she
whose
saw,
street,
just
they
like
don't.
she saw her street address, someone will see their street address.
Right,
Right,
just like,
yeah.
because I know people who watch it and they're
Yeah.
looking for their street.
Yeah.
Right, it's an address, it's the same thing. So you just put different addresses.
So yeah, so we can assign the addresses or a number. We'll assign them a number, and including her, she would also get assigned a number. And the only number that will qualify in this lottery is her number. But
Well, no,
yet she should
when
still
you said-
have odds.
Yeah, Juanita said that her number her address should show up. So if we
Oh,
can do
yeah,
that,
her address would show up.
we don't
because-
want to worry about whether you've assigned her number 9 and now we have to search for number 9 and somehow it got misassigned. So it better
Yeah.
be actual address for her.
For her,
and
yeah.
Series of numbers for all of the other people.
I agree.
Okay. So that would go for actually our second remedy, or the one that she suggested with remedy 3, which would be to remove any of the awardees. And that would give her better odds. And then she wanted an additional second entry in that special lottery. So
No.
No, you know what I find problematic about that one? It's the same thing. So you run one without the top 10, and then what happens to the new top 10? Because
Yeah.
people will say, hey, how come? Hey, how come? I
hear you.
think it opens it up to too much. I mean, I think this is fair. It's running it just the way it was. We're running another lottery, which is what originally she wanted. But we're not hurting anybody else. And I know the other one wasn't going to hurt anybody, but their names are out there. Can you imagine? I know I would feel like, hey, I got number 1 on that second one. What are the chances of it ever happen to me again? You know?
well, we don't necessarily have to run the second one live. It can be, with committee members and the homeowner. There's nothing that says that, we need to run it live. Because the only one that it affects truly is her. It doesn't affect anyone else in that lottery. Right?
I think we're better off doing it at our next meeting. I just, better it be totally public than someone then raising the issue that it was done privately.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bob. I think it has to be public.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So-
do you want to decide if you want to go with her remedy, which is removing all of the awardees, and there's a few other people that need to be removed, and give her a second entry, or remedy 1 or 2, or something different, maybe not a second entry, maybe just remove all of the awardees. So whatever the committee decides on your offer,
Well,
I guess, I'll bring it back to her.
So the legal department said we have to have another lottery, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't.
That
think we
doesn't
should-
help anyone, because if you run a second
Oh, no,
lottery,
no.
you know what I mean? Like you run a
no.
second lottery, it's going to be different than the third lottery, or the first, or the fifth, because it's all random.
Yeah.
And she
No,
was
no,
the
no,
only
no, but
one that
this
was
would
harmed.
this would still fall under a lottery. It's just a little different.
Right.
So they'll
Well, I
this
think-
will
I think so.
satisfy,
Pardon?
this will satisfy the legal department, law
Oh,
department.
I don't know. My problem with what they said was run a brand new, void the old lottery.
Oh, that would be, you can't, people rely,
That's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That would harm the 10 people that ran.
Oh, and it would lose our credibility.
that would be terrible. They would have claims too against us for reliance, reasonable reliance, all sorts of things. So I can't imagine the law department wanted that.
No, but this would be a lottery. You know what I
And
mean?
she's getting an equal opportunity to
I
She's
win.
just think
getting
she
an
should
equal
have,
opportunity, but we're not affecting anybody else. So I
right.
think,
I like that. I don't like to give her the second chance next year.
no,
I don't want to do that.
no, again, because other people might want a second chance.
Yeah. So I say, I would go with this. Do we want to take them all, the 10 out, the winners out? Is that okay with everybody? I
No,
mean,
I think she should have the same chance.
have the same chances? Okay.
We
I
have a
like her
question
option.
on
I like her
Facebook.
option. That's my opinion, because
What-
it was
say that
our
again,
fault.
Judy?
I
Judy,
said I
please.
like her option because it was our fault technically by removing it. So I don't, so I'm for her suggestion.
Yeah. I mean, it was a mistake. It was a mistake that happened, that can happen just happened. I don't think it was not done by malice. It was just a mistake. And it was clearly, it was easy to see how the mistake happened.
Right. I suppose we go part way towards her position by taking the winners out, and not giving her the second chance next year. It's kind of a compromise that makes sense to me.
Gloria, you had a question that somebody sent in?
Yeah, on
Actually, it's one of
Facebook.
our awardees. It's one of the, it's one of our homeowners who won. So now she's nervous that we're taking away her grant. That's
No,
what's
we're
happening
not.
here. Yeah. So you can rest assured that, there is, yeah, you don't need to worry about that homeowner who sent us a note. Yeah.
Same as homeowners, it's not just the top 10, it's like 11, 12, 13, because sometimes, yeah.
And
Yeah.
their order will not change either. Everyone that was in the sort order, the way it was, remains the same.
All right.
First of all, there's a 4% chance of
so-
winning this lottery. There's a
we
4% chance of winning. So
Judy, I would like to ask a question. You like the homeowner suggestion. Which suggestion, please?
Where she has the awardees removed and she also gets a chance again in the next one.
No, wait a minute. A chance in, oh, you mean that
Whatever she said, Karen, that you read.
Okay, so
Number 3.
let's discuss, because I think there was a miscommunication. So what you're saying is that we remove all of the awardees, and if she wins, she gets a second chance in the July lottery?
Nope. And I don't
No.
think she means that. I
No,
think she just wants to get the chance to do the simulation. And she also wants to be able to put her name. I mean, that would be something specified in a motion, but
she wants 2 entries in the lottery. That's what she's saying. She wants 2 entries plus.
in this one or one next year?
This one.
I thought you said she just wanted 1 entry and the 10 removed.
No,
No,
she wants
no.
2 entries.
Can we
and
see
the
the
10
email?
removed.
Can I see the email or can you read it again? What she,
Well, part of this was done verbally at the end, because it was like a half hour before the show. So while we were discussing it, this may not be the exact email. Because, okay, hold on. All right, dear Karen, I request that the Springfield Community Preservation hold a special lottery as in the Remedy 2 that we discussed, but with the following changes. Only include the candidates not awarded in 2024, including 2 entries of my address. That would give an equitable opportunity, according to her, for omitting her address. Yeah, so that's what she's requesting.
I thought when we had talked last week, you said that was an option. Given her 2 entries.
Well, that was for Remedy 1, Judy. Two entries in the next lottery.
Next year. Yeah.
Right, that's Remedy 1. Remedy 2 is to run the same exact lottery, only she's added to it. Remedy number 3 is to run a shorter lottery, removing the awardees and giving her 2 entries in the special lottery. So there are three different things there.
I'm sorry, let me understand. She's still the two entries will be for next year?
No, would,
No, for
no,
this year. No, okay, that's I don't see that. I can't
for the
support
special lottery.
I can't support that. You put her in the same position she would have been. Giving her a better deal because if you take the award winners out, she has a better odds. So I mean, we're giving her better odds than she had to start with. That's to me is a concession that, well, running the lottery is a concession, and giving her this numerical advantage is a concession. So there's two concessions there. I wouldn't. No. That's my position.
All right, so perhaps we need a motion so we can
Mhm.
have a question and a vote.
Right.
Does it need to be clear or?
Yeah, when we
just wanna-
moved, I don't know.
Pardon?
What are we moved? I'm sorry.
We didn't
Well,
move
we
anything,
We
Steve.
need to move one, we need to move.
Oh, okay. I will move that we adopt as a remedy for this participant a simulation, a new simulation of the lottery, absent with taking out the winners from the original lottery, and using numbers to represent all of the other participants, using this individual's name or her address as the identifier, and that'll be it.
Okay. Everyone understand the motion. Hold the lottery. Remove the people that won the December lottery. Number everyone so they're not recognizable, the other addresses, and keep one entry for this particular homeowner who was omitted.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
I'll second it.
Oh, yeah, we should have, yep.
So-
All right.
So that increases, because the odds of winning this lottery, as I said, is 4%. You
Right.
delete 10. Now there is a better
But
chance.
it is more, it's gonna be more than 10. So I have to figure that out, but it's gonna be more
That's
than
what we
10.
communicate to her. She's getting a better deal.
Yeah.
Why more than
So her-
10?
Well, because one already dropped out. A
Oh.
second person dropped out, and so we
Okay.
have to account for that, and yeah. So it
So
could
the odds
end
are
up
better
being
then.
more.
And-
So the
and-
odds, there may be 14 there, you know? And I need to look at that again and just really check that list. I'm hesitant to really touch it because that was the original configuration. And to me, if you're going to run something, even if it has errors, you should run it again so that everything remains consistent.
That's what I feel. I don't like the idea of, I have to say, I don't like the idea of dropping off those names.
Yeah,
It should
I
be
don't
the
really
same
either,
number.
but
The same number as the first, so that the lottery then is the same. And
the
But it
only thing
isn't.
that
But
can
it
make
isn't.
that true,
The
Juanita.
motion isn't for that, unless
No,
I
I know, I know,
misheard you.
I know,
It's not.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
All right, any further discussion regarding Steve's motion seconded by Gloria? All right, so if there's no more discussion, we'll do the vote. So just to clarify, there will be a second lottery that will remove the winners of the December lottery from the numbering. That it will be blind and that all the other addresses will be replaced by numbers. But there will be, and obviously the new person will be added in. It goes without saying that if she doesn't win this one, she's automatically entered into the 2025 lottery whenever that occurs. All right.
And only one entry or two.
One
One
entry.
entry.
One.
The motion was one entry.
One entry.
Yeah. Okay. So Steve,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Yolanda,
Abstain.
Judy,
No.
Clinton,
Abstain.
Juanita,
I'm gonna have to say no because I don't want those 10 removed. So I'm gonna have to say no.
I'm going to say yes. So 3 yeses, 2 nos, 2 abstentions. So that's what we're going to do going forward to undo the mistake that we made last month. She gets another chance at the lottery.
And at better odds. She gets better odds this time.
Way
That's-
better odds.
Yeah.
That's well.
All right.
So, yeah. Well, thank you, everyone, and my apologies for this omission. There's a lot of back and
Karen,
forth
it was
with
a
these
mistake.
addresses.
It was a
I
mistake
know,
that
but
can happen to
No.
anybody. So please, it's a mistake. That's all.
Okay. So I don't think we have any other business. We next meet on February 4. Hopefully it will be a short meeting. We will have the lottery then. And we will also be dealing with the Trinity Church, but that may be it. Who knows what else may appear between now and then. Laura,
Bob?
you have something? Yep.
What happens if she doesn't like the suggestion?
This
That's what you got.
this is what we've decided to do to undo our omission.
Right.
Okay.
I'm worried more about other people than her.
Right. I'm with you with that, Clinton.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly worried. I want to protect the people who won last month's lottery. That's the most important thing.
Yeah,
Right.
I would agree more.
And I think from going forward, for the next lottery, if there is one, that we should have like a policy in place so that they have maybe 10 or 14 days to respond. And that would be like the complaint period. And after that, then they lose their opportunity to complain. I mean, we need to put a timeline on this so it's not dragged out and write up, like a formal policy appeal type process, just to be very transparent about what their options are if this does happen again, or something else that happens within the lottery.
You're right, Karen. We should have something in place.
Yeah, something in
Already
writing.
for
And I think
future.
that's what this taught us, really,
Mhm.
is that we didn't have a policy in place. We did the best we could to honor everyone who won and to also honor the homeowner who was admitted. And I think the committee resolve that. Is it perfect? No, it's not a perfect solution, but every error doesn't have a
Gives her some-
remedy,
Yeah. No.
So
All right.
All right.
anyway,
So,
All right, guys.
a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you, everyone.
All
Good
right.
job, you guys.
Yeah, everyone.
All
Thank you,
right.
guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good
Good night.
night. Good night.